Here. Okay, we are going to get started, everybody. Welcome to Learn to Love Your Calendar. And if you haven't already, jump in the chat. Tell me where city, state you're zooming in from. And we've still got friends that are jumping on and joining us. And we're definitely going to be recording this to share with everybody afterwards, because we're going to cover a lot of content in a short amount of time. And if you're ready, go and click the react button right now and show me an emoji of like, just pick one you haven't clicked before. So click on react, and I'm going to pick the rocket. Let me see. Did the rockets show up? Pick a reaction and show me an emoji that you haven't used before. Oh, there we go. I love it. Okay, awesome. Sharing my screen, going here, and I'm forgetting one more thing. Okay. Here we go. Awesome. So let me make sure I've got everything the way it's supposed to be. And then just know that as we go, you can utilize the chat if you have questions. Afterwards, we're going to open it up for a question and answer time as well. And so this is Learn to Love My Calendar. So the first thing I want you to do, you're all muted, so you're safe to talk out loud. I want you to say it 3 times. I love my calendar. I love my calendar.
I love my calendar.
I love my calendar. And everything starts with mindset. 95% mindset, 5% skill. So if we're talking about the skill of your calendar, then we've got to talk about mindset. And many times I would roll my eyes, I would dread my calendar. I used to do a printed paper calendar for many years, and I hesitated from going digital because of many different reasons. What I found though is once I started changing my mindset, like I love my calendar allows me to have time spent with loved ones and the things I'm most passionate about. Like I started bringing in my thinking and my affirmations around my calendar, and then really good things started to happen. So if we haven't met before, my name's Rebecca DelPozo, and I am the founder of the Millionaire Real Estate Moms Group. If you are not already in our Facebook group, you should join us. And my story is one that you've probably heard before, but what's the brief short version? I'm dyslexic, I have ADHD, no college degree, got into real estate, and had no knowledge of business and what I was doing. I just wanted to care for people. And through that, my business grew. I got into different leadership opportunities. And what that meant was a lot of different people needing a lot of different things from me. So raise your hand if you can relate. You step into certain roles, and then people are kind of always pulling on you or wanting your time. And so today's class is kind of like a mashup of all the different tips and tricks and tools that I've learned to embrace over the years. And I'm glad you're here. So, are you constantly feeling behind the ball, apologizing for being late, feeling overwhelmed by all that needs to be done? We're recording this in December of 2024, so like right now, are you feeling all those things? Um, are you feeling unorganized and out of control? Feel like you never get enough things checked off your to-do list? See, that was me. I just felt like a scatterbrain, always apologizing, always talking to myself in a way that was like, could you just get your stuff together? Like, why do you always have to be digging in your purse looking for your keys like that? Why do you always have to be this, this, and this? And so I started to put everything through a filter and asked myself the question, could there be a system for this? So like digging through my purse for keys, I actually attached my keys to a lanyard that would always hang on the outside of my purse so that I could quickly grab my keys. Like that's just one very simple example. Everything in my life that was frustrating me and the things that I was doing to frustrate myself, I would then put it through this filter of what system or what tool could I use to just gain more calm in this area. The other one was regarding my phone. I utilize reminders on my iPhone for everything because you can voice prompt while you're driving. And so if you go into my reminders, I've got a big long list of things, and sometimes they're kind of cryptic and they don't mean anything to anyone else. And if I read it, it will trigger. And then I don't know about you. Do you ever feel that anxiety or fear that something's going to slip through the cracks, or that you're going to forget something really important? And you would be like, well, if it was important, I wouldn't forget it. And the reality is, just with the way my dyslexic brain thinks sometimes, it did, as a mom, as a wife, as a friend, as a daughter. And so today we're just going to talk through some of the things that have helped me, and then we'll mastermind on things that have potentially helped you, and we're going to grow together. So the first thing was, we need to lay the foundation. Why is this important? Why is your calendar important? Well, stress shows up in our life when we speak something out and say it, but our calendar doesn't reflect it or support it. So for instance, I could say like, oh, I love my family. And then you look on my calendar and their birthdays or anniversaries or special dates are nowhere to be found, or that there's no time block for my loved ones, but it's full of appointments or commitments or things that I just don't even really look forward to. And so first step is, not everything holds equal importance. Like right now, I've turned my phone to do not disturb. By the end of our time together, I'm going to look at my phone and there will be multiple texts and emails and phone calls missed and voicemails, right? However, does every single voicemail hold equal importance? No, the answer is no, because for certain, here's one thing I can tell you for sure. One of the texts that I'm going to miss will be that Cost Plus World Market is having 20% off something. That's always the text that shows up. But when that little red button with all the notifications and things that you have missed out on shows up, it causes anxiety. So the first step is, we need to identify what's most important to us, and we refer to this as the 80-20 principle. Number two, there is a tool that the most accomplished use, and it's free, and I'm going to share it with you today. And then three, a time-blocked calendar equals dreams becoming a reality. It's not enough for you just to be thinking about your goals and dreams. You have to write them down. You have to share them with someone. I like to create my prayer board or vision board, looking at it constantly, writing letters out as though it's already come to pass and how I'm going to feel about it. When you put things on your calendar, it's like you take traction. And one of the prompts right now that's on my calendar as a daily affirmation is, perfection is the enemy of progress. Perfection is the enemy of progress. I get so excited. I mean, it's one of my love languages. It's growth. I love growing, and I love growing with others. And if something has helped me grow, I can't help and want to share it with everyone else. So when you put things on your calendar and they trigger you in a positive way, because you're like, oh, these things are not just things I'm talking about, they're actually becoming a reality, you'll be proud of yourself. And then you'll look at yourself in the mirror and be like, you did it. You didn't just talk about it, you made it happen. So today we're going to focus on the 20% and how you operate in that realm of purpose. We're going to effectively set goals and establish some accountability. You're going to create the beginnings of a 411, which we'll talk about in just a minute, and then how to implement using the time-blocked calendar and placeholders, as I call them. Now, when you're using any kind of goal setting tool, then you need to know that there are like these filters that we use to look at our goals. So to be most effective, we put it through what we call the SMART goals filter. Is it specific? Is it measurable? Is it actionable? Is it realistic? And is it time bound? And if you're in any kind of leadership position, whether you're leading your household, you have a team, or you're running a business, or you're working with other people, you want to start asking questions to clarify when someone sets a goal through the filter of SMART goals. Is this specific? You can't just say, well, I want to lose weight. You've got to be specific about what and how much and by when, and be really smart about your goals. Now, my mentor, Diana Kokoska, has taught me 2 new letters that I've added on this year, and it is ER, so smarter goals. So how do you make your goals smarter? You imagine that you've accomplished the goal, and then you tap into the emotion you'll feel when it's completed. And then you'll give yourself a reward. You'll literally think about it and go into the future and imagine that you did the thing that you said you were going to do and it happened. How will you feel? What emotions will be surrounding you? And then what is the reward that you'll get by completing it? So that's kind of the foundation laid that we're going to talk about goals, how to goal set, and then how to make them smarter goals. So step 1 is, how do you gain perspective and take control? Well, in life, you want to imagine that you have a bunch of different rubber balls that you are constantly juggling. However, there are a few balls that are glass balls. Rubber balls, when they are dropped, they can bounce back. So for you on the call that are in real estate or in any kind of sales position, your business will always bounce back. It's like a faucet. You can turn it on, you can turn it off when you decide. But there are a few of the balls that you're juggling that are not rubber balls. They're glass balls. And if you drop them, they can shatter and break. Sometimes they can be put back together and other times they can't. And that's your health. It's your family. It's your key relationships. And so I want you to think about that when you're saying, I'm so busy, or there's so much going on, and you imagine yourself juggling. Are you juggling the right balls? And are you giving the proper time and attention to the glass balls in your life? So what I'd like you to do is, on the screen, I've pulled out from The One Thing by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan, the question of the circles of my life. So I want you to look at this real fast, and I want you to just take inventory of each of these circles. And if you were to give yourself a score between 1 and 10, 10, it's amazing, you're killing it, you should be teaching classes on it. 1, it's an area that is in desperate need of attention. I want you to now go around this circle, and for each circle, identify a number between 1 and 10. So for your spiritual life, between 1 and 10. For your physical health, how are you feeling on a scale of 1 to 10? For your personal life, this would be hobbies, friendships, your personal passions. Next is your key relationships. This would be immediate family. This would be extended family. Key relationships, if you have a team or a business, these are the leaders that you're surrounding yourself with. For your job, your specific job and the tasks that you're responsible for in the role that you're in right now, on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you give yourself? For your business, if you run multiple businesses or you have different side hustles or things that are happening in your world, remove yourself out of the business and look at it as a whole and give yourself a score. And then for your finances, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10, you can't even believe that all the good things are happening and you have no lack whatsoever, or 1, that this is an area that you've been avoiding and you know you need to start bringing clarity and attention to it. So we just need to take a moment and identify and take inventory of where we're at right now. And then in the chat, if you could share with the group what number needs, or yes, which area did you score the lowest? And drop it in the chat. What particular circle ended up being the lowest score for you? And drop that in the chat. All right. I am spiritual finances, job, personal, physical health, health. Yeah. So health, finance, yes. Okay. So you're in the right room and you're with friends. um, and the reality is this is one of the things that a few years ago that was my biggest. I had horrible back pain and it was impacting every part of my world. And I was just like, if I could just figure out how to move the needle in this particular circle, then I'll be able to do do really great things in all the other circles. And so when we're studying the most successful people, it's that they take the time to do this quick reality check and then they ask the deeper question, which is what's one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary. And so if you wrote down your finances, it might be hiring a bookkeeper. If you wrote down personal, then it might be that you are purposeful in connecting and making new friendships. If you wrote down health, maybe it's that you're hiring a health coach or you're getting a commitment or you're bringing in accountability at a really high level, because that's what I've learned is that when you're wanting to move the needle on something, most of the time, you are not going to do it alone. You need a team of people that are cheering you on. And you have to trick yourself into some pretty crazy accountability relationships. It's almost like you trick yourself into being this crazy, obsessive, accountable person because you're ready for growth and you don't just want to settle for mediocre anymore. So you're in the right place. Now, what I'd like you to do is grab your pen or pencil and find an open space, and I'd like you to describe your perfect day. Perfect day of the work week or perfect day of a weekend. You could do that one as homework. Right now, I'd like you to think about work. So when you think about waking up, what time are you waking up? Write that down. And specifically, what are you doing? What are the activities that you're doing in the morning? And like, if you were to start time blocking them, how much time do you need for each? Now, I started doing this exercise years ago, and one of the things I created, I have Rebecca rules. And one of my Rebecca rules is that when I get ready for the day, I get ready. So much so that I'm not allowed to get out of the bathroom until I could walk out, suit up, and walk out the front door because there's no multitasking. It's not an option. The phone does not come in the bathroom because I know that I've got to get ready. And if I get distracted by bing, bing, whatever the notification may be, I'm distracted. It takes away from my time in getting ready. And so that was one of my Rebecca rules was like, this is my perfect day. I get up at this time, I get ready, and I'm ready to walk out the door to an appointment if I needed to by this time. Then I want you to think about who you're spending time with and what are the most productive activities that need to be on your calendar so that you know you are going after the most important 20% of your business. The 80% items are important. However, what's the 20%? What is the most important that needs to show up on your calendar? So kind of think about your perfect day. And then that you're eating lunch, that you're taking proper breaks, that maybe you had lunch with someone. And what time are you done? And what does that routine potentially look like? So you're not going to go and just turn tomorrow into your perfect day because you've already got commitments, you've already got things that you've said yes to. And so what I'd like you to do though is think about where you could add this into your life in the new year. Let's say that it's okay, the kids go back to school on this day, or that it's this particular day that would work for me to try it on for size and just literally put it on and go, today is the one day that I'm going to go about my day in this time blocked fashion. Now, life is full of unexpecteds. So it's not always going to go exactly like you plan. However, I want you to take note of your energy when you're spending time in this way on the most productive activities, those 20% activities. And when things happen and the unexpected things pop up and people are trying to like get in on your calendar or mess up your perfect day, that's a separate class on how to talk to people and set boundaries in a polite way. And it's an important exercise to just embody who it is you know you are and plan out and just go, I'm picking one day. I'm just picking one day and I'm going to live out this great day on purpose. Then you could do that for a day off or a couple of days off and be purposeful in how you're spending, investing your time. Now, for those of you in business, I'd like you to think about this. When was the last time you did a quick kind of check-in on who your ideal client is? Now, I'm in real estate, so in this realm, it's going to be clients, a seller client and a buyer client. And what is my territory? So if I go in and I owned a different type of business. Every business kind of has a territory. And if it hasn't been done in a while, your homework or your challenge from me is to create your perfect client avatar, your profile of a client. Who are they? What do they do for fun? How do they spend their time? Where do they work? Where do they own homes, or where would they want to own homes? And create an ideal client map of, I would go this far for a seller client, I would go over the bridge for a buyer client, or I wouldn't go further than this. And then wherever that boundary ends up being as a real estate professional, then you start strategically connecting with referral partners so that you in advance know who you would be referring business to if those people come into your world and they're outside of your territory client map. So one year I did this. No one knew about it. It was a personal exercise that I did. And I just said, I'm not going to show houses further than, and then it was a particular distance from my kids' schools. I didn't want to be further than 20, 25 minutes. If there was an emergency and I had to drop everything, I wanted to know that I could literally get to them quickly. So that's just an example. Other business owners on the call, think about your ideal client and create like an avatar profile of who they might be. Maybe it's that they want to upsell, and so they're going to sell their house and get a bigger home. Maybe they're selling their big house and they're downsizing to a condo or retirement living. Like, get really clear and specific about who it is that you want to work with. I was just coaching someone the other day and she's got little kids, and I said, that's perfect. Volunteer at school, get involved in the activities, and be present for your kids, and you will serve other parents as clients. And that's the gift that we have in real estate and business, is that it kind of moves with us through the different seasons of life. So if you haven't done this in a while, I would highly recommend just creating that map of who your ideal client is. Now we're going to talk about some calendaring. I consider this what we call front loading your calendar for the most important things. If you're in any kind of business or sales position, the most important activities should be front loaded into your calendar. And what I mean by front loaded is that it shows up within that first week or two of every month so that you are hitting your goals and you're guaranteeing, ensuring that you're going to hit your goals. For me, when I was in a leadership position, I was hosting career nights and having people in to hear about the opportunity of getting into the business. I would always hold them on Mondays and Tuesdays, and it would always be within the first 2 weeks of every month, so that by the 15th of the month, if I hadn't hit my goal of how many conversations and friends I needed to make, I could make it up still. I still had time before the end of the month came. So I'd like you to think about that in weekly activities as well as monthly and annually. What could you do to front load your the activities that you know that are going to exponentially grow you personally, grow you professionally? What would happen if you didn't spread it out and you just front loaded all of it into January and February? You could literally create predictability in your business. You could literally have more information and stats to use because you've just literally taken the concept and asked the question, how could I front load this? Front load this into my day. Front load this into my week. Front load this into the month, and then ultimately front load it into the year. So when it comes to the calendar, I have now fallen in love with the Google Calendar. And there's a couple of different reasons why that I'll get into here shortly, but it's that you can color code it, that you can decide what the defaults are of the amount of time increments that it's using when you're booking a placeholder on your calendar. You can invite people. You can create notifications, which I don't prefer. My ADHD brain can't have like those notifications popping up in the top corner. I turn all those off and I have it send me an email. So if it's a task that has to be done, it sends me an email 30 minutes prior so that I know I can have time to prepare and be ready for whatever that event, task, or appointment is. So I love Google Calendar for that reason. The other one is that it syncs to your phone. And so whatever changes I'm making on the big screen, I know that I can click into my Google Calendar and those colors are going to show up on my phone. And so no matter where I'm at, I can actually go and say, okay, I know this is what I'm doing. Here is my color code. And so you can use colors in all different shades to be able to personalize it to colors that makes most sense for you. The other thing that I love about the Google Calendar is, okay, here's a perfect example. So I'm here in Washington and we have the Seahawks, and I booked an open house during a Seahawks game. Now, that's a strategy that many real estate agents use on purpose, and that wasn't the case for me. I just didn't know that that was the day and the time that the Seahawks were playing. And so did you know that when you go into your Google Calendar, you can actually click Add Calendar, search for sports teams, find your sports team based on where you're located, and it will automatically then import all of the dates and times of all the games. And so all the Seahawks games show up on the calendar. And so if you're a raving fan, you're like, well, of course they do. But if you're not always watching football like me, I needed to know and be sensitive of when those games were happening so that I could schedule appointments accordingly. Because wouldn't you know it, like if I it only happens once where I booked the appointment during a Seahawks game and I was sitting next to the TV, and I mean there was just complete competition and I lost, and the Seahawks absolutely won the attention of the people that wanted me over to talk about selling their house. Shame on me for booking it during that time. It doesn't happen that way anymore. So notifications as emails is one of my favorite things to use. Seahawks sports calendars that you can import and layer into your calendar is another really great great way. Color coding. The other one is address. So when I book an appointment with someone, or like, we're going out for dinner tonight and I've got the dinner restaurant saved in the event of our dinner appointment, so that when we get in the car, I've shared it with my husband and he clicks on it and it syncs to his GPS and off we go. And so I've just found that there are just these tiny little tweaks, little systems that we've put in place for our life where it just makes the car ride so much more enjoyable. It saves time because it's like you just tap on it and it's taking you right to wherever it is you need to go, whether it be a doctor's appointment or, a client appointment or a friend's house. You can quickly add the address into the event so that you can click on it from your phone and then it syncs right into your maps, whether it's Google Maps, Apple Maps, or Waze. The other thing that I love about using the Google Calendar is that once you have appointments that are kind of labeled a certain way, you can click the magnifying glass on the upper right-hand corner and search for any time that you've met with a person or had a certain type of appointment. It's a very quick way to search and sort your activities. So for instance, I've got a client and their last name is Smith. And I was like, oh, what's that address again? I can quickly just go to my Google Calendar, type in the word, click search, type Smith, and then the appointment that comes back from 3-4 months ago or whatever it is will instantly pop up and I can click on it and off I go. So that is a game changer when it comes to appointments in my business and where I'm heading. The other part is that you can share it with people, and sharing events with other people, especially loved ones, then kind of sets everyone on the same page to like, no, this is happening. This is what we said was going to happen. You can set it up to send reminders like a week before, a month before, 10 minutes before. You can set them as defaults depending on how you want to do it. So I definitely love that. And within the event itself, you can actually attach pictures, PDFs, you can link, hyperlink things. So if we're going to have a meeting and it's about this particular thing within the event, I can then go in and attach what it is I want to talk about, the agenda for the meeting, any notes, any reminders, so that in advance I can feel prepared for whatever meeting I'm going into. Okay. All right. So that's the Google Calendar. Now, how do we set boundaries when there are people that are boundary busters, as I call them? There's a great book on boundaries. There's boundaries for kids, boundaries for marriage, boundaries in business. I highly recommend the book Boundaries. Well, what I found is as a people pleaser, as someone who in that moment I want to serve people. I want to do right by them. They ask for time with me and then I want to say yes in that very moment. So the system I created was, let me check my calendar. And if you wouldn't mind sending me a quick email, then when I'm looking at my full calendar, I can see if it's something I can make work. So I just started to adopt certain language around not committing in the moment. And unless it was something that I absolutely wanted and I was ready to commit in that moment and put it on the calendar and set it, I just started creating language around it. I'd love to get together. And if you wouldn't mind, send me a quick email so that I've got it in front of me. I'll check my family's schedule and I'll get back to you. Now, for those of you who have been with me over the last couple of months doing business planning clinic, we went through this exercise together, right? That when a client calls and wants to get on your calendar, you should have at least 2 or 3 placeholders on your calendar so that you could quickly, and I mean quickly, say, I would love to meet. I've got Wednesday at 5, Saturday at 10, or Thursday at 2. Which would work better for you is the language. Now, the way that I explain this is the love and logic. I remember taking a seminar years ago when my kids were younger, and it was called Love and Logic. And when you go to your kids and you offer them breakfast, the confusion and the upset potential happens when you give someone too many options. And so, what would you like for breakfast, Tina? Okay, we have pancakes, we have French toast, we have Fruit Loops, we've got apples with peanut butter. Like, what would you like for breakfast? And you give them so many options that then it literally causes chaos and confusion. So the rule is 2 or 3 maximum. So when you want to get together with someone, even if it's just like, hey, we should grab coffee sometime, then you say, great. Could you give me 2 times that work best for you? Be very specific and say what 2 times work best for you. Versus the other way of talking is, oh my gosh, I would love to get together for coffee. When are you free? Tell me what works best for you. Like, all the people pleaser in us wants to accommodate other people. And in reality, that's what causes stress, because then I feel like I feel like I'm at the mercy of everyone else's schedule, everyone else's priorities and calendars, not mine. And so I spend my time purposely. I do it with people that I want to do it with. I am intentional about what the most important 20% activities have to be on my calendar. And then it helps me create that language to talk to other people. I would love to meet with you and see your home so that we could see if it's a good fit for us to work together. I've got Wednesday at 5 or Saturday at 10. Which works better for you? So when you're setting boundaries, you want to be able to have a few options to give people. Now, in that example, if someone says, well, neither of those times work, you just say, great. What two options work best for you? They give them to you. And then you pause, do not commit in the moment. Say, awesome, I'm going to check my family's calendar. And then is it okay if I text you or call you back to confirm which of those options works best for us? And let's make it happen. See, I think too many times as professionals, as business owners, we are not treating ourselves or treating our calendars as the professional calendar that it should be. Now, there's a time and a place to accommodate people. And what I've learned is that if you have boundaries like that in place, it makes it that much easier to be able to communicate and get things on the calendar that are literally in alignment with what it is you're wanting to go and grow in. Okay, got a couple questions here. So what are examples of your color coding? So there's a bunch of different thinking around this, Jen. Some people pick green for dollar productive activities. Some people pick red for most important non-negotiable activities. Other people use different colors to represent the location of where they're going to be. I've got people that have businesses in different states. And so it's like when they are in California, everything is yellow. When they're in Washington, everything is green. So you get to decide what the color coding means for you so that then you can quickly filter and look at your calendar. Maybe it's personal appointments. Maybe it's this is my family schedule color. So you get to decide. And then if there are events that are on your calendar that are optional or movable, you could give them a color there too. So you can definitely Google and find a bunch of different thinking around the different color palettes to use and what works best for you. I saw this one lady who was talking all about the colors, and she went and she found a way to import a palette that was more pastel and easy on the eye, and she preferred that. So that would be one of the ways to color code it. What about schedule busters who live in your home? This is a reality. You love them and you're frustrated by them because it's like they're the boundary busters. So one of the ways that I found works best for this is to have conversations and set expectations up front in advance. So last night, for instance, we sat down and we were going to watch TV. Well, before we turn on the TV, we had to look at the calendar together. And so I literally just airplayed my calendar on the TV screen. I said, okay, this is my day tomorrow. I'm going to be doing this from this time to this time. I've got a call at 8. I've got the Zoom at 10. Then I'm going to be doing this, this, and this. What does your day look like? And then we compared notes. And so then it's a matter of just setting expectation to say, this is a time when I can't be interrupted. Like I've got to get these things done and it's got to be quiet. So I'm going to have my headphones in, my noise canceling headphones in, or I'm going to go and lock myself in the back seat of the car so that I get this done in a quiet space. Like I've done that, whatever it takes, right? I think the other thing too is with family and with different schedules. If you set expectations up front, it gives people time to think about it and then plan accordingly. And most of the time in my life, when I'm frustrated with someone or with a situation, I can literally pinpoint and go back and go, I take responsibility. My DNA is all over this. I am so sorry that I didn't talk to you about this with enough notice to be able to like give you time to think about it. Could you look at this with me and let's revisit this? Or you can use me as an excuse today. Like you could just say, I took this class with Rebecca and she brought this up, and I'd like to just explore the options of what it would look like for us to start creating a habit around reviewing our calendar. And that way, you're not feeling like you don't know where I'm at or what I'm doing and why. And so would you be open to that? So it's all about how you phrase it. It's all about the words you use. There's so much power in your words. And so having expectations set up front, I think is definitely important. Okay. Now, for those of you with Keller Williams, you've seen this tool before. For those of you who are not, it's okay. At the end of class, I'm going to upload into the chat what I'm calling the One Thing Kick-Ass Guide to Goal Setting. And it explains the tool in detail. It explains how you fill it out. And ultimately, this is the tool that I use to build out every dream board, vision board, prayer board of every year. I create goals in these four specific categories of my personal goals, the time I want to spend with loved ones, the areas in which I want to grow in my health, my spirituality, and my financials. And then I set financial goals. One example is tracking your net worth and any very specific things that you're wanting to see grow. Like I like to see bank accounts grow. Can I get an amen? That's something we track on a monthly basis. We have what we call an increase meeting once a month. And we go through and we go, where were we increased? And then we tithe on it. We put money aside for taxes, and we make sure that we're tracking the things that we're wanting to grow in. In your personal financial goals, you should have giving goals. I don't know about you, but I want to be an extravagant giver. When I hear of something, I don't want to have to think about it once or twice. I want to be able to just give freely. And so giving goals would show up in your personal financial goals. If you're wanting to get out of debt or pay debt down, that would be something that shows up here. Other financial goals would be, do you have a trust or a will? Do you have long-term disability? Do you have insurance or umbrella policies? Like, so personal financial, how are you building wealth? How are you protecting it? Then you move into your business goals. This is what your business or your team is expected to do. And then ultimately your annual goals. And then once you have that, you take them and divide them by how many months are in the year, or I like to use not 12 months, but 10, just because the reality is I travel, I teach, I do a bunch of things. And so I use 10 as the number. And then you only focus on 1 week at a time of what are the most important activities that you need to do in order to move the needle in this particular realm of your life, your business, your financials, and your personal life as well. Now, we know based on statistics that my yoga ball just shifted. Hang on a sec. Okay, pardon me. We know based on statistics that it's not enough just to write your goals down. It's not enough just to bring in like a vision board or a prayer board. You've got to tell people. You've got to bring in accountability. So how do you bring in accountability? Well, I'm going to drop my email in the chat before we go today, and you just send it to me and I will help you and I will cheer you on. Do the first step, which is kind of build out your draft of what the goals are. And I'll look through that filter of SMART goals and go, is this smart? Is it smarter? And kind of help you get on track. The other one is multiple accountability partners. You've got friends, you've got family, you've got business associates, you've got Facebook groups, you have communities all around you that if you were to go and find other like-minded people and you said, hey, I'd love to see some growth in this area, would you mind meeting with me once a month? It's going to be about a 15, 20-minute conversation of just didn't I do what I said I was going to do? Bringing in accountability is So critical. So after class, you'll get it in the chat. And then my offer to you stands that you can email it to me if you want me to review it, give you some feedback, and bring in some accountability. Oh, note, the best accountability partner is someone under 10. So if you have children at home, one of the best ways that you can bring in accountability is tell your grandbabies or tell your kids that if I do this, you get that. And so I remember putting it on the fridge and saying, hey, this is what's going to happen. If mom does this, then this is what you get. And so help me, you know that they held me accountable. Okay. We talked about this already, adding your net worth to your goal setting tracker. And that shows up as a monthly reoccurring appointment on our calendar that we track it. And you're like, well, why do you have to do it monthly? Because what you focus on grows and expands. And so I don't remember. And so I have it as a monthly recurring pop up as an email in my inbox that this is what needs to be done. And then I know my Rebecca rule is I can't delete or folder or label that email until I've taken the action of that event. And so that is how I personally work. You may have a different way that works well for you, but I would definitely say that you should be tracking your net worth. The reason people don't is because they know it's not where they want it to be. And the reason they don't is because it's depressing and it's negative. And you're like, why would I want to focus on something that I know isn't positive? Well, the reality is when you look at it and then you just start breaking down what the little tiny baby steps are to be able to move forward in that goal, it starts to grow. And so I've been there. I've been there with crazy amounts of debt. You would think that once you've done that and then you've gotten out of it, that you would learn the lesson and it wouldn't happen again. But sad to say, that's not always the case, at least not in my world. And so I'm just being real. When you want something to grow, you've got to focus on it. Now, one of the other ways that I found focus is with where the apps are placed on my phone. Muscle memory is real and right into our fingertips and thumb tips. So, with this latest iOS update, have you noticed that the calculator has changed, or that when you swipe and you go here, that it's in a different place? So, I'll give you an example of this in my own life. I'm a Facebook girl. I go to Facebook. That's kind of where I hang out most. However, my kids are on Instagram. And so in order to connect with them, I knew that I had to go and be purposeful about Instagram. So one of the things that I did was I literally took the Facebook icon, held it down till it does the little dance, and swapped it with Instagram so that literally every time I click to go to Facebook, it's Instagram instead, so that I'm becoming more familiar with it now. I'm still not a pro. I've still got a ways to go. And your fingers have muscle memory. And so for you, if you're wanting, like I have purposely placed icons in my phone that I can reach within like my thumb reach. So they go into that center piece of like where I could one-handedly click on some. Do you know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about. Do that for your Google Calendar, or do that for the most important things so that when you are clicking into that, you are creating new muscle memory. And that's actually been a game changer for me recently. Okay. And then this is also my challenge to add profit sharing goals to your 411. And most importantly, get a life. Many reasons as to why you don't love your calendar is because you're not doing enough things that bring you joy and that fill you. Your calendar is full of all the things you're doing to pour into others and to give to others. And this is my gentle, loving reminder that your calendar has to ensure that you are receiving, that you are in rooms where people are pouring into you. And if you don't have those kinds of relationships, then we need to grow in that, right? We need to put some energy and focus into that, because when you look at your calendar, you should be excited by what's on there. And so many times, people that are very disciplined and winning in business need that reminder. So this is your official reminder. Get a life, get some fun things on the calendar. And I'll just say, if there's anyone here local in Washington, I want to go to a pottery class. So if you could keep me accountable to going, I want to go, and like, I've never been on a pottery wheel, and I think that would be fun. And so that's fun for me. If that sounds fun for you, let me know. And what was the other one for me? I want to sing more. So karaoke, worship nights, if you hear of anywhere that it would be helpful. I got an invitation to be a Christmas caroler. Unfortunately, my schedule didn't work out, but I'm like, I'm going to sing more, and I want to get on a pottery wheel in 2025. Okay. All right, cool. So let me know and we will make it happen. Okay. Is this helpful so far? Drop in the chat if you're learning anything new, or if you're like, okay, this was a good reminder. I'd love to hear from you right now. Drop in the chat. What's one takeaway or one thing that you're like, okay, this is good. I could go and do this. Has this been helpful? Okay, sweet. One person thinks this is helpful. Okay, no. Oh, there's some more. The 2 times that work best for you question. Okay, you liked that. Setting boundaries, purposeful calendaring, reminder boundaries. Oh, see, you're not alone. We're in this together and we're learning and we're growing. Um, Tracking your net worth and your 411. Okay, this is helpful. Putting things on your calendar that bring you joy. Find a new hobby. Yes. Yes, scheduling fun. Um, Fun things, fun. Oh, see, what that tells me is you are all doers, and you need to learn to be more beings, right? Human doing versus human being. And that means that you need to be purposeful and bring in systems for having more fun in your life, because that means you've probably, and this is okay, this is my warning or my confession. Call it what you want. I mean, there were times when I was time blocking everything, and I mean down to a T. I was running an office of over 300 agents. I had a team of 13 people. I was going on appointments. I had kids at home. I mean, it was a lot. I time blocked to go to the bathroom. I time blocked to drink water. Oh my gosh, I should probably ask for forgiveness from someone particular. I should do this right now. Hang on a second. I'm going to call and apologize to Amy. Amy, apology, because during that season of my life and business, one of the tasks or the things that I asked for help with was, can you please bring a decanter of water, so that I'm so busy and in between appointments, I can't even go drink water. So could you just have a jug of water on the counter? Looking back now, I'm thinking, oh my word, clearly I was out of alignment. I need to ask for forgiveness there. But some of you are probably the same then, is that you are really good at doing, and you've got to embrace being, and being in a room of people that don't need anything from you. Being in a room of people that you don't need to sell or convince or, always kind of be on. That's something I've learned, and I've gotten better at it. I've still got a ways to go. Now, many of you know the story. I had a full-time executive assistant, my partner in crime, Erin, and she suddenly passed away. Um, and I kind of just allowed the pendulum to go to the complete opposite. I was so structured, and I was literally time blocking everything, that I almost got like angry when people were asking for my time, and I was so rigid in the way that I was structured on my calendar. And then life happens, unexpected things take place, and then it was like the pendulum just completely went to the other end of just everything's meaningless. I don't want my calendar. I don't need to do this. No one needs to hold me accountable. Why am I even doing any of this anymore? And I don't want to be anywhere. I don't want to show up. I don't want to shower and be around other people. And what I've learned over the last year is that I'm coming back around and bringing, a healthy amount of harmony, not balance, because things just are never perfectly balanced. Harmony. I'm embracing harmony, that there are times when there is white space on your calendar and it's okay. White space means free time and fun. And maybe you just need to articulate, that's going to be, I'm going to do this activity or go for a walk or have lunch with a friend, and that they don't need anything from me whatsoever. So that was a tangent. Okay, get back on track. I'd love to come to your office. So I am front loading my 2025 teaching and training goals. If this has been valuable, or if you've taught a class, or if you've been at a class where I taught before, I am booking for 2025 classes. And I would love to come to your office. I would love a warm introduction to your leadership so that I could come in person and talk more about whatever topics you want to. And so if you wouldn't mind snapping a picture of this, texting it or emailing it to whoever you think should connect with me. I'm going to be more purposeful in 2025 with my podcast, Rebecca Recommends. And I'm looking forward to more opportunities to be able to grow as a trainer, as a speaker. And so if anything comes to mind, I would sure appreciate the opportunity. I love to teach Quantum Leap for adults, which I title Life, You're Doing It All Wrong. It's all about mindset, goal setting, and wealth building. Quantum Leap for adults. I love teaching Business Planning Clinic. I just did a big old roadshow all about the MREA Business Planning Clinic. So that's typically taught September, October, November. So plan ahead for that. And I would say the other Keller Williams classes that I enjoy teaching are Lead Generation 36123. Be a Listing Magnet is the one that I'm going to be teaching to a couple of different offices this coming year. I'm really excited about that as well. But pretty much any Keller Williams University course, or if you're not in real estate, I have a couple of different goal setting, time management classes for any kind of business, not just real estate related. So awesome. Now, if you're looking to improve your presentation and communication skills to win more clients, or to just feel like you're using the right words at the right time to get what you want, um, I am going I'm going to offer something totally new if this is of interest to you. So, if you're wanting to practice how to communicate in a more effective way, drop in the chat present, the word present, and I will purposely follow up with you, and we'll set up a one-on-one where if you want to send me a recording of a scenario or something, or a presentation, buyer consultation, listing appointment, or any type of interaction that you're having with other people, and you're wanting to have just some different ideas and approaches of how you could go about it differently, I would love to be able to connect with anyone. So if that resonates with you and you're interested, just drop present in the chat and I will follow up accordingly. And I'm still figuring out what that's going to look like, because everyone kind of has a different potential opportunity or challenge they want to work through. Maybe it's winning every listing that you're going on, or how to communicate value to a client so that they trust you and sign on with you. So that's one of my offerings. Okay. As always, we serve the greater Seattle, Tacoma, Olympia, Washington areas of Washington. I said that already, Washington. And that's my handsome husband, Mike. And here on the screen is a way for us to connect on purpose for referrals. So if you're not already on my referral list, what you do is just pull out your phone and zoom in, and it should take you to this little link. and you can fill out the connect with me, and it asks just a couple of quick questions, and then that way I will follow up after class with a few different, extras. All right, so I'll give it a minute there. And okay, timing wise, we are doing good, and I want to personalize it a little bit more for you in our next little bit of time. So you've already done this in the chat. What I'd like to do is now stop the share. Actually, no, hang on. Here it is. Okay. So let's do this together. Grab your pen, and I want you to write down, of all the things that I've just talked about for the last hour, what is one thing you're going to go do in the next 24 hours that by doing it would have the biggest impact on that circle that you said that was the lowest number when you were kind of taking a quick evaluation and a reality check of the different circles of your life? Based on the information that we've talked about in learning to love your calendar, what's one thing you're going to do in the next 24 hours to bring about a shift or a change? And then in the chat, I'd love to see if you're willing to share what's one thing you're going to go do. And this has to be small. This has to be that tiny little baby step. Maybe it's just like opening the Google Calendar, or maybe it's going to be sign up for the Google Calendar training. That's free. And you just literally go to the Google Calendar tutorial. Let me see in the chat what's one thing you're going to do based on the knowledge that you've now just gained. So you're going to schedule more time for moving and not too much sitting. Okay, that's great. So a reminder could be an alarm that pops up, and that when it goes up, you go up, get a drink of water, move around, or do some exercise. I've got someone in my life that while the coffee is percolating, they do squats and exercises in the perfect amount of time waiting for the coffee. So get into motion. I love that. Pull out your credit report. You have an appointment next week with debt relief specialist and come up with a plan. Oh, I love that. Absolutely. That is definitely something to do in the next 24 hours. And that will help you identify what the next step is. Google Calendar training. Share this info with our team and exercise before work. I love that. I'd like to work on identifying the 20%. And so, sleep schedule, going to bed earlier and getting up earlier so not frazzled in the mornings. That's a good one too. See, it's just these tiny little things that can make the biggest impact. And so touching on, how do you identify what your 20% is versus the 80%, is that you have to start looking at all the things you do and literally just start writing down all the tasks. From, like, some people have done this in the form of an exercise where every 30 minutes an alarm goes off for one day, and whatever task they did over the last 30 minutes, they write it down. And by the end of the full day, they have a list of tasks that they performed. And then when you look at that list, then you literally just circle or highlight the ones that are going to be most productive or dollar productive. And it's not that the 80% items aren't as important. It's just that they don't get done first. You do the 20% things first so that you feel that you've taken traction on something, and then you do the rest of the 80%, or you find a system, a tool, or a person that you can leverage to help you do the 80%. Because most of the time, the 80% are the things I'm not good at or that I'm not gifted in. And so they're actually going to drain me the most. And so the quicker that I can find a system around it, or I can create a tool, a reminder, or a person to take it off my plate, watch out to like energy skyrocketing. So definitely. Okay. Next one is create client profile and then the network of the niche. I love that. Find accountability partners to keep me on track. Better color coding. Okay, cool. That was helpful to touch on. Mark out time on common calendar to avoid confusion with family members or friends. Definitely, that's one. Once you mark it off, then share it with the other person and review it together. I'd like to fill out the goals form you're sending. Awesome. And get an accountability coach. Yes, definitely. Those are all perfect examples. Okay. So after class, what I'm going to do is email all of you. And what I'm also going to do is share the recording and the kick-ass guide to goal setting, as well as the blank 411 tool I'll be sharing with everyone. Trying to think, is there anything else that we touched on that I promised? I don't think so. So I'm going to stop share and I am going to go here. And now I can see your smiling faces. And we're going to go into some questions, answers, and I reserve the right to be wrong and to change my mind later, because I feel like every time I've like shared something like this works for me now, and then I've learned something different, and then it's like, oh, this works even better for me. So, okay, what's one question here? What are your thoughts on kids' activities on the calendar? Separate or combined, such as practices? I keep a personal and work calendar. That's a great question. So, I did it in a separate calendar that I could click on and off so that I could quickly like look at this is my kids' calendar. But then there were like critical times like drop off time or pickup time, or I'm the driver to get them to that appointment. And then that would have to be on my regular work schedule with an alarm. I use alarms for everything because I was like, I was that mom that was late picking up my kids at times. I was that mom that, it's like you're a mom, you shouldn't forget this, and I would absolutely forget that thing. Like it was bring this or that to school day, and like I was that mom just because it wasn't easy for me to remember. So definitely. Okay, hopefully that helps. Okay, so I can see you all now, and I'd love to see, of all the things that we talked about, what other specific questions come to mind. You can raise your digital hand or just wave at me like that. Any other questions that come to mind based on what we've talked about? Nothing at all. I'm going to add my email in the chat so that you get that. Question: best way to manage 6 individual teammates' calendars and team as well as my own? Yeah, that's like herding cats. And it can absolutely be done because there are key pivotal moments where you're going to have team meetings, like it's all hands on deck. These are non negotiable, like we all attend this meeting together, right? And then within the team, they individually create their own calendar and then they share it with you so that like if you took a call and you had to book something, you could book it on someone's calendar because they've time blocked that these are appointment blocks or this is personal family block. Many people use Calendly for booking appointments and things, but the Google Calendar actually does that same function of appointments now, where you can create a calendar of open appointment slots and then share that calendar with people. So I would say if you are the team operations manager, it would be that you've got the calendar, that it kind of layers in your team's calendar, and that there is full transparency and that everybody shares their calendar with everyone so that people understand when they're available and maybe why they're not available. That's a personal appointment or doctor's appointment or kids recital, whatever it may be. That's a good question. So I've done this. Do they need to share permission so I can add appointments? How is this done? That's a great question. And the Google Calendar tutorial will walk you through how to do that. And and it's free. So if you just go into the Google Calendar, and you know what I found? There's a few people on YouTube as well. When you Google like Google Calendar hacks, or go to YouTube and go Google Calendar tips, you'll see a lot of people sharing their screens and showing you how they've used the Google Calendar at a really high level. So definitely. Okay, cool. So what I'm going to do is attach the goal setting guide to our chat so that you've got that. It should pop up in your chat here momentarily. And then I'm also going to share the blank business and personal 411 tool. That should be here momentarily so that you can download that and take a look at that. The one thing Kick-Ass Guide goal setting is a workbook packet, and I love it. I don't know about you, but like I set goals, I get busy with things, and then at times I can feel the energy drain or I can feel like a shift, and I pull out this packet and kind of use it as my quick reset, because it's like, oh, I took that off the calendar and I didn't replace it, or oh, I said I was going to do this and then I didn't, and so I love the tool itself. So I'm gonna drop that in the chat so you have access to all that. And then any other questions around how to learn to love your calendar? If not, I'm going to stop our recording and just hang out for small talk. Thank you so much for jumping on Learn to Love Your Calendar with me today. I'm excited to hear about the ways that you're going to go and implement. I want to hear about the wins. That's the way that I win, is if you share your wins with me. So RebeccaD@kw.com, or my phone number. You've got it. And what is this? I have a Rebecca folder on my computer with all the wonderful education you get. You have a folder with my name on it? That's awesome, Hillary. That's the sweetest compliment ever. The Rebecca rules or the Rebecca hacks. That's awesome. Okay. So I'm going to put my phone number in the chat. Special shout out to Leslie for being my fabulous co-host. We had no weird Zooming awkward moments, and the technology came through for us, which I so appreciate. And if we do not talk before Christmas, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you all. I can't wait to see you, hug you, and learn with you in 2025.